Hi and welcome to Upsiders Information. I'm a medical astrologer going financial, and in today's video, let's analyze this new moon in Sagittarius. This happens between November 30 or December 1st, depending on where you are, and then we'll see how this can affect the markets. But if you want, you can skip ahead using the timestamps below. As a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. This is astrology, and astrology predicts sentiment, and sentiment reflects in the markets. That being said, I always remind people that predictions timings can suffer a lag time between the trigger, whatever happens behind the scenes, and the response that reflects in offer and demand that reflects in price action. Like when institutional money and whales, for example, make big moves, it doesn't happen on the exchanges. So it takes a minute to ripple into the data and retail to catch up. But more on that later. Let's start with the new moon Geo, because geopolitics and financials are related, and the proof is in the pudding. We've been on the Trump pump. But, as I mentioned in my election predictions and in my previous videos, something was going to happen between election and inauguration day, especially after the full moon that indicated that shift was going to hit the fan. And we just had puppet-in-chief prompt the Third World War. So, multiple scenarios can happen from here, but based on astrology and history, war is almost unavoidable by mid-2025 as Uranus, the planet of upheaval, enters Gemini, the sign of the twins, the two minds, and the divide. And the last full moon was conjunct Uranus, but on the upside, Uranus also rules crypto, and we can see how it contributed to the pump. Though the nature of Uranus is unpredictable and we never really know how it's going to play out, we just know it can be major. Now, for this upcoming new moon in Sagittarius, new moons or new beginnings is when the sun and the moon conjunct, so the male and the female principle unite, and they shed a seed for manifestation in the area that they meet. And Sagittarius is the sign of belief, faith, the pursuit of truth, and also adventure and foreign places. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, the so-called great benefic, or should I say magnifier, as it enlarges everything that it touches, both the good, the bad, and the ugly. And magnanimous Jupiter is larger than life. It rules wealth, abundance, extravagance, and great expectations. But with great expectations can also come disappointments. Now, Jupiter is retrograde, so backwards as per our perspective here on Earth, and is opposed to Sun and the Moon, so on the other side of the chart, which implies a great challenge, and is in Gemini, the mental air sign. So Jupiter is in detriment in this placement, as is the furthest point from its home, and Jupiter is all about belief, while Gemini is all about facts. So Jupiter is weak here, and therefore its benefic action is mitigated. Interestingly, Gemini's ruler is Mercury, the nitpicked planet of communication and commerce, which suffers the exact same situation as Jupiter since it recently stationed retrograde and is in Jupiter's place, so in detriment in Sagittarius. Now, we cannot say Mercury is conjunct the new moon as they are more than 10 degrees apart, but these planets would rather change places, so they are in mutual reception, so they're talking to each other. This is like a priest, Jupiter, changing places with an accountant, Mercury, putting the priest in the office, Gemini, and the accountant at church, Sagittarius. So they don't know what to do, but at least they can relate to each other and they can help each other out. Now, this tells me that we're all in a bind between our beliefs and the facts. And we're all living alternate realities depending on a limited point of view that does not comprehend the wholeness of the world situation. And this is further confirmed by Neptune, the planet of illusion and delusion that rules entertainment and media, being the only planet in rulership, and is in Pisces, the sign of confusion, and the two fishes swimming in opposite directions. Yet both Neptune and Pisces represents religion and spirituality too. And we have, on one hand, the so-called holy wars, which is an oxymoron. I don't understand how those two words can go together. And on the other hand, the waves of awakening, which is not the same as woke, which is an expropriated term to distract from actual awakening. And all of this is orchestrated through the media, what I like to call the weapons of mass distraction. If you're old enough to remember how the government used the media to get us into gratuitous wars that only benefited a few. And the media used to be the fourth power, the watchdog of the government on behalf of the people, up until only 7 companies pretty much bought all the media, and these 7 companies are belonging to the powers that be and shouldn't. Anyway, this new moon and the ruler are in a tense T-square with Saturn, which is the stern planet of grounding and reality checks. And this is prompting everyone to step up to the plate. Now, Saturn, like Neptune, is in Pisces, so this is like the adult in the room is high. So we're all looking for a savior, and we're left with a tall order of saving ourselves. Now, with Pluto, the phoenix bird planet of death, rebirth, and transformation, finally in Aquarius, the sign of the collective, everyone can rise from their ashes and reinvent themselves. And we're better off relying in our community or building community, because when in need, we can only reach out to our peers, and our peers are the only ones that we can rely upon, not the talking heads on the television. Now, Aquarius has 2 waves, the higher vibe and the lower. On the higher vibe, we're all one on a spiritual sense. Now, on the lower vibe is we're all common in a communist kind of way, like Agenda 2030, that you will own nothing and it crickets. So this is when we have to take our power back. But the good news is that we're doing so. Now, Aquarius rules tech besides people, and Pluto wealth and power. And we can see how this affected the crypto space. And this is also supported by Venus, the planet of money, in Capricorn now, the sign of the goat, reaching to the top through personal effort. Also, the sign of Bitcoin that has a stellium of planets in Capricorn. And Venus is in a harmonious trine with Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius and tech and crypto, which is in Taurus, the sign of comfort and a way of life. Now, we have a beautiful kite formation taking us higher, and this is with a grand trine and a grand sextile between the moon, the lunar nodes of fate, past and future, and Mars, the planet of action that now is in Leo, the sign of passion. And this gives us courage to fight for what we love and change our lives. So this is your opportunity with this new moon scenario to go for what you want, because the universe is conspiring on your behalf. And if we all did this, imagine how the collective could affect the world stage. Now, let's see how this new moon can affect markets. And for the records, new moons tend to be local tops. To recap, the last full moon retracement wasn't significant enough and played out briefly, until the Mercury station retrograde prompted trend reversal, which took Bitcoin on a nosedive from almost 100K to the low 90s. And this is a result of macro factors outperforming the usual full moon local bottoms. So if you're waiting for an opportunity for an entry level, you might want to wait for a series of restrictive Saturn aspect on Q1 of 2025. And then we have eclipse season in springtime, which looks like a roller coaster, but I will post more as we go to factor in context. In the meantime, Ethereum and XRP pumped as predicted, but there's more room to go, which doesn't mean that they're not going to join the correction and retest support levels, as this builds healthy market structure. Yet, you want to understand how money rotates in the crypto space. First, Bitcoin leads the way, and when it starts stalling or consolidating, money starts moving into the large capital coins like Ethereum, Solana, XRP, etc. And that flows into smaller cap alts, where there's more risk but also more reward. And then all the way down the list until the cycle starts all over again with a bear market, which is a period of accumulation. But most people get paper gains and fail to take profits trying to time the markets, which is mission impossible. And astrology is as good as it gets, and still, It's like when the weatherman tells you there's 75% chance of rain at noon, and after you missed out on the beach on a sunny day, you finally head out and you get a shower at 4 p.m. I know, frustrating. But the only thing you need to make money is to sell higher than you bought. And yes, it's easier said than done, because the mind played tricks on us when we're caught in the motion rather than in the rational observation of the cycles. And that's why we have a fear-greed index and telltale signs that helps you with the decision-making process. When everyone is scared, it's time to invest. And when everyone is jumping in, it's usually late, so it's time to exit. And when in doubt, zoom out to gain perspective. But if you're at lost and you want a shortcut tool to help you identify the crypto cycle, go to blockchaincenter.net, where you have the Bitcoin and alt season index. So when it's above 75%, there's no much room left to go. So you can start swapping Bitcoin for altcoins. And when it's below 25%, it's time to fill up your bags with Bitcoin again. And if you feel that you missed out, continue to go below and you'll find the top 50 performers of the season, where you'll find that Bitcoin is almost halfway. And that's because of the law of diminishing returns, which states that the more an asset grows, the less room to grow it has. So it takes longer to grow and it grows less proportionally to previous years. And if you follow Steve from Crypto Crew University, he talks about the 5.3 theory, and I'll link his site below so you can check him out. And if you want to see what's trending now, you can continue to go down to see in detail what coins are trending in what platforms, the ranks, the volume, and the winners of the month. And then if you want to learn about a coin before jumping in, you can go to platforms like Coinbase and type the asset and see in the description below the analysis, the data, and what the bulls and the bears say. And then compare notes with other assets before you make your decision. At any point, any chart can pretty much do anything. So ask yourself a question. What does it hurt more? To lose your hard-earned money or to miss out on possible extra gains? Now, I've been in both ends of the spectrum and I have to fess up, even after making gains, I suffered the defeat of missing out on another leg up in as much as when I had to cut my losses. So the question is, what's your strategy? I'm going to lay out a couple of techniques that you can choose from based on your risk tolerance and how often you want to trade. You can buy and hold, which is called HODL, where patience pays off. Actually, the best investments belong to dead people because they didn't touch it. But a side effect of being alive is that you need money. And this can be unpredictable too, like an emergency. And we're not just here to watch it go up and down on a screen. At some point, you want to take profits. The other technique is dollar cost average, which you put a set amount on an ongoing basis, let's say $100 a month. And eventually, markets always goes up. Another technique is scaling, where you scale in on pullbacks and scale out on rallies, where you can shave 10% of the top of your portfolio, so you don't have to gamble all the way. Actually, avoid that mistake of going all in, though some Bitcoin maxis would argue otherwise. You can also swing trade or trend trade based on the premise that the trend is your friend, so you follow along the market and you wait for a reversal to jump in or out as per convenience. Now, you can also buy an X amount, and after a certain increase, you can take back your invested amount, and then you can keep your exposure with the remainder as playing with house money, like in the casino. Or you can have a target level and sell when you reach that target. Now, if you have a low tolerance for risk, you can put the stop losses, but this can only happen in exchanges with their own set of risk, as when it's not your keys, it's not your coins, and exchanges had also gone down, usually around eclipse seasons where they tend to reveal shady things or get triggered by a black swan event, like when the banks went down. Now, if the market is going down, you can wait it out until the next cycle as it repeats itself like every 4 years or so, or you can cut your losses, as losing a bit is better than losing a lot. And remember that every time that you sell and/or swap, these are taxable events. So you want to factor contributions in, short versus long-term investments. On a short-term investment that's less than 1 year and the percentage that you have to contribute is about 30%, and then after a year is a long-term investment and the percentage on capital gains is about 15%. The other thing you can do is offset any gains by selling your losers, and if you want, you can buy them right back and keep them till the next run. So here's my overall process. I like to check fundamentals, recommended sectors and industries. I like to follow experts, economists, and people in the intelligence community that they understand about geopolitics because it's connected with financials. Then I like to check for the astrology to predict future sentiment and unforeseen forces. COVID, for example, cataclysmic events or black swan events to have a general idea of sentiment going up or down. For the stock market, the hidden gem is insiders information. And by this, I'm not talking about anything illegal. Insiders are to make their trades public within a couple of weeks if they work for a company, like the CEO or CFO, for example. Politicians have 45 days and investors quarterly. But this is too late already. Now, you can go to the sec.gov site, but they make it cumbersome. The easiest way is to go to the Autopilot app that follows a selection of politicians and investors that you can link to your Robinhood account for automation so you don't have to bother, though it's limited, and I will link the link below. And now they have also partnered with Quiver Quantitative, which you can sign up by yourself, where you can check insiders information reporting anywhere from institutional investments, well activity, and government official trades. And finally, I like to do some basic technical analysis to identify trends and key levels of support and resistance and combine some indicators as a guide to know when to get in and out. And I will make an intro later. But now I want to go over some fundamentals, what some experts are recommending under a Trump administration, and what's my take based on the astrology. Now, they recommend oil, gas, drilling, production, and refining. Now, with Neptune, the planet of gas, in rulership, and with Saturn in Pisces too, which represents mining, I have to agree with this statement. Another sector that they recommend is gold, silver, copper, lithium, and uranium. And different metals are ruled by different planets, but with Neptune heading to Aries, which will cause inflation, and Chiron there too, which will cause corrections, metals are a hedge against inflation and they are a store of value. And last video, I made a case for uranium too. Another sector they recommend is defense and national security. And again, with Uranus, the planet of upheaval, going from Taurus into Gemini, that means war, so I agree with the statement. The next one is auto manufacturing. With Jupiter, the planet of abundance, in Gemini, the sign of commute, I agree with the statement. The next recommendation is cryptocurrencies. And again, with Pluto, the planet of abundance, in Aquarius, the sign of tech and crypto, I agree with this as well. The next recommendation was banking and finance, and I was surprised by this because with the notes heading into a bear cycle in the next few years, I don't agree with this statement. Now, the last statement was tracking and airlines, and again, Jupiter meaning abundance, in Gemini meaning commute, and being an air sign ruling airlines, I agree with this as well. Now, there are two sectors to avoid. They recommend avoiding big pharma. And I agree with this because Saturn, the bear market, is in Pisces that rules hospital, and Neptune that rules drugs is there too. And the South Node, that is a dumpster energy, is heading towards Virgo, that rules healthcare. The other sector that they don't recommend is big food. And I have to agree with this statement as well, as Uranus, the planet of disruption, is in Taurus, which is the sign of the farm and the yield. But again, none of this is financial advice, just what I'm considering based on my research and data. Take it or leave it. And if you want more, please like, share, and subscribe so my channel doesn't disappear in the maze. And if you want a private consultation, reach out to me at upsidersinformation@pm.me and know that I will never reach out to you. Thank you so much for your time. Blessings, happy Thanksgiving, and see you in 2 weeks. Namaste.